All right. So we'll get recording here, and we'll blame Mike for this later. Welcome, fans and friends, to the season finale of season 11 of Mention and Dispatches. I'm not sure we ever really expected we were going to last this long, but we're closing in on 150 episodes worth of podcast here, which is kind of ridiculous, especially since we're not getting paid for any of this. But we've assembled a great cast for you tonight. I think this is your only time here with us this season, right, Brian?
It is.
It is. Well, we saved you for the final episode because when we get this late in the season, we need somebody to keep us on topic, and you always come prepared. So,
you need guests.
That too, but it helps when you're prepared. Our buddy Rocky is back. Rocky, how you doing?
Hey, hello. Happy holidays. Aren't we all just having a grand old time shopping and returning things and shopping and returning things and returning things? Yeah, happy holidays.
So far, not so bad. The new job isn't kicking your ass yet, is it? That's yeah. All right, we'll leave that one alone. And
that one goes on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. and Mike, we're going to turn this over to you to do the topical introductions because this one's all your fault. So I don't care if you're not feeling good, man. This was your topic. You get to introduce it to the world.
Yeah, I'm back, and unlike Brian and like normal, I'm totally unprepared. So that's perfect.
I mean, that's kind of keeping in the spirit of the whole podcast, right?
It is. So I think in the past we've done these holiday episodes, these holiday podcasts. We've talked more about holiday wishes and those kinds of things. And I suggested this time that maybe we can still do that, but let's focus on something we haven't done before, and that's kind of point people in directions of gifts they could buy for Wargamers. So that's kind of the main theme for tonight. But we, much like watching one of Gary's counter clipping shows, I'm sure we'll go completely off the rails.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we usually start off the rails. So
we already are, probably.
Yeah, well, we'll get there soon enough. I do want to thank the audience quickly, though, before we dive into the topic. Folks, we'd made mention a couple of times over the last few episodes, try and get a couple of ratings in on like iTunes or Spotify or wherever, because those ratings help us bubble up in the recommendation engines. And we have seen some of the total count of ratings start to come in, and that's gone up some. I'm happy that they are mostly, all high rated types of ratings. Do appreciate you guys giving us the love on that. We're just sort of, begging for more ratings overall, again, just to try and show that we're worthy of being recommended in those recommendation engines when podcasts are, the things like iTunes are going, oh, you like this podcast? Well, here's another one you should check out also. And, we'd like to be one of those other ones people check out also. So thank you for that. Now, with all of that, Brian, since you're actually prepared with something resembling a list, what do you got at the top of the list for things for Wargamers?
Okay. First thing on Kickstarter, I saw this gadget and I'm like, hey, this is a pretty good idea. And this would be great for a lot of Wargamers, especially if you have, mounted maps for your games. I know a lot of them are paper now, but if you have a mounted map, there's this thing called the Board Butler, okay? This is on Kickstarter. And it's basically, how when you set up your map to begin with, it's just all catawampus. You got to go and, go get your anvil and stick it on it so it stays flat for a couple days. With the Board Butler, it's pretty simplistic, but it's pretty cool. It's just these little clips that go on the sides of the board where the creases are, and it keeps your board flat. So it's actually, I pledged it a couple months ago. It's right now you can go and put in a late pledge on Kickstarter, and it just might come before Christmas for you.
Oh, my goodness gracious me. You are going to send me the links to all of these things on your list, right? So that I can add them to the episode for people to be able to just click down below and see.
Oh, absolutely. For the fans.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it's for the fans. It's not at all for me to go look at them and try and figure out how I'm going to spend money on them.
There you go.
Completely for the fans. That's the only people it's for.
But like I said, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's basically a glorified chip clip, but it's clear, just like a little thing that goes on the sides, keeps the board nice and straight. And you don't have to worry about, it popping up.
Yeah.
I have an earlier version I have an earlier version of those, and they actually are really, really nice, especially on the mounted boards, because they get those corners or those edges down, and just it helps when it's laying out. Once it's laid out, it really just helps keep it from when you're bumping it around and everything. That's a great suggestion. Those are awesome. Work a lot better than the Bulldog clips that old gamers have that hang around that tend to like scratch up the board and rip it apart to pieces. So much better suggestion.
So without having seen this Kickstarter, and to play the part of the Grinch a little bit here, I've been doing the same thing for years with the clear sliding binder covers. They're like the size of a piece of paper, and they kind of do what you're talking about. They hold the mounted boards completely flat.
I don't want to deflate my balloon here, but that's exactly what these looks like. It looks like he might have taken those and clipped them in half, maybe, or something like that.
And maybe he's worked them such that they're probably, they're probably a little more protective of the board than like just buying the things.
Right. They do look pretty sturdy as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, same concept. See, you could have made $1 million.
Yeah, that's me. That's my life story. I could have.
Dude, if we start doing podcast episodes on the near misses of the people at the Dragoons, it's going to become its own separate podcast series.
Wait, let me write that down. That's my memoir title. I could have. I like that. Okay.
All right, so we've got a way in which you can hold your ideally mounted map boards down, because if you've got the unmounted ones, you just slap some plexi on the table, right? Isn't that generally what we do?
Yep.
Unless we're trying to take pictures of it, in which case the plexi wrecks that.
Well, you know what I use? The plexi has a tendency to get pretty dirty and crack and stuff like that. I actually use a clear vinyl, almost like a tablecloth cover type thing, and that works perfect for me. You can get them in different thicknesses, and you just get a halfway thin one, and it'll hold your map down, and it works perfect for me.
And I'll give one word of warning to those, because I had one of those as well for a while. They do work great, but do not leave that set up on the map for any length of time, because eventually, at least the one I had, it was probably some cheap thing, but eventually the map got to where it stuck to that PVC, clear PVC.
Oh, no.
And it actually peeled part of the ink off the map. So be careful.
Oh, man, that's terrible.
So what you're saying, Mike, is we got to actually play the game in a reasonable amount of time before aging sets in on the table.
Maybe that's the story, is don't leave your game set up forever. Play it and get it over with. Yeah.
Well, we're on that topic. I use Ultra Pro top loaders. You can get some large ones that do most like your magazine style games. I got ones like 24 by 36 or something like that. It's like a giant baseball card holder, and you just slide the maps in. The good thing about that is you can actually lift it up and move it if you have to, because it's all inside that big slipcase sort of thing.
Wait, they make something that big?
They do. They have
Wow.
they got a pretty large one. Like I said, I can put a lot of your like magazine game maps. Single mappers can actually fit in there. I've tried it with the mounted maps, but that's a little bit too thick. But for the paper maps, it works awesome. It also naturally smooths the creases out of it a lot faster. So those are sort of things that maybe you have to put on a wish list ahead of time for the significant others to try to order in advance, and you leave a wish list for them, which is probably what most of what all these war games things are, is sort of a what's the wish list you give to the others of what you want. And there's some things out there that maybe they can figure out on their own, but this is one of the ones that you probably want to direct them which way they want to go.
I think as we were discussing those top loaders back at the fall assembly, I think what we figured out is they'll hold a 17 by 22 map, but I think an 18 by 24 is just barely too big. Is that what we figured out, or will it hold an 18 by 24?
Give me a sec here.
Oh boy.
You can find those. I've actually got one around here somewhere that holds a standard size map. They're huge.
Well, standard size, keep in mind, 17 by 22 versus 18 by 24 just depends on what you ordered from the printing press, because it's a matter of which roll of paper they're cutting from. And look, we can get way down the rabbit hole of print specs, given that I worked in that business for a while, but most of your map games, you're going to get 17 by 22s, or most most of your magazine games, I think you're going to get 17 by 22s because that's multiplying out from the 8.5 by 11s that most of the magazines end up printing on. So what do you got there?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, you got the 24 by 36. Holy cow.
Yeah, I got one of those too.
Yeah. That holds a lot. You know, the audience is going to wonder how we're figuring this out. Rocky just turned his camera on and showed us the labeling on them. So yeah, so the 18 by 24 top loader, but I think with the seams, it'll hold a 17 by 22 for sure. But will an 18 by 24 fit in and not be crinkled up against the seams?
It's really, 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 really tight.
Yeah.
So yeah, you probably don't want to be, that's probably a little bit too much. But the larger one works. I mean, if you put it in with the larger one, you got no problems at all.
And to get even further off topic, you can buy, like the movie poster frames from anywhere really that will hold these maps as well. You could actually have your map mounted in a frame and put it on the table.
But I've got a stack up against the wall with a bunch of the maps for my games in various playtest forms that are in a bunch of basic poster frames from the wall that we got, when the back to college sales were going on. They're just the basic clear plexi over corrugated cardboard in the back. And then they've got the little plastic clips down the side, the full length clips that run down the side that just sort of slide on over the edges and keeps everything nice and rigid. I've got one with a pair of the Warfighter maps, and then I've got one with the Orange Crush map, and then I've got one that's got a blank hex grid on one side and a blank square grid on the other side that I was using whenever we were needing role-playing stuff, because I could throw that up and just grab a dry erase marker and scribble on that real quick if I needed to. And so I've got 3 of those leaned up against the wall in here that I can go grab whenever I need to just lay something flat. And being rigid, they're very easy to carry around or pack in the car. So those those you get them around, when everybody goes back to college. You wait until the week after college starts and everybody's like dumping the back to college merchandise, and you can get them on sale for like $5. Great. Works well. Brian, you didn't intend to spark an entire conversation on ways to protect maps on tables, huh?
I did.
Mike, what do you got? Something. This was your episode, right? So you should have at least some idea of at least one thing you want to talk about, right?
Well, one thing I can certainly recommend, because it's one of the most helpful things that I have for wargaming, is to give someone go to like a site like Litco, one of those places that sells the bling, we call it, for war games. And they sell the little plastic cubes or the little plastic discs that you can put on top of counters to mark whether or not they've moved or fired or whatever, stuff like that. And even my latest thing is you can go to a site like Etsy or maybe even Amazon and get, like, they sell Magic the Gathering counters or life counters. And they usually go from 0 to, usually the way it is, it goes from like 0 to 99. And those are great for if you've got a war game where you're having to keep track of numbers or counting things. Those are awesome to throw on the table as well.
Yeah, I recommend it. I recommend Etsy for a lot of things as far as gaming go. You'll be shocked at what you can find for your games, not just war games. I have my Arkham Horror card game. I've probably put about $150 into stuff from Etsy sellers just to, jazz up the game a little bit.
Yeah, Etsy's great. In fact, that's where I found the little Magic the Gathering life counters I'm talking about. And you can get them in any numbers. You can get them like double digit, single digit, 4 digits, and any color. So yeah, it's a great resource.
So bingo chips for the cost conscious amongst us. Bingo chips, the translucent ones, do a great job too. And they cost a lot less than the small packages of chips that are showing up in game stores now. Not that I'm saying don't give business to your friendly local game store. They certainly need the help. So, do what you need to do. But I mean, you bring up a great point, Mike. There's a lot of little tiny things, little accessories out there. I use the dividers that go in when you're doing tiles. Those little X's.
Yeah,
I use those. They're lightweight. They throw right on. I can take them off real quick and everything. Just a simple X. That also seems thematic. Many times they're like, okay, this one's dead at the end of the turn. Throw that X down on them. So I know how to remove it later. So things like that.
They have very small dice too, which are very helpful if you got to keep a numeric track on top of like a counter. And I mean small dice, 1 through 6, and they're very helpful.
Some of us are old enough to remember the old construction sets, the sails one, the cards that had all the little sailing ships. whatever Pirates something.
Oh yeah.
The road race one. I have none of those cards. I have none of that game except for those bundles and bundles of small little dice that came.
There you go.
Whatever works. For the for little markers like that, over the years we used to use a variety of Legos for different stuff because those were always plentiful in whatever house I happened to be hanging out in. So you could get the little square or round Legos with the different, the little flat ones with the different color coding on them, and drop those on stacks if you needed also. Just because we always had Legos laying around, we didn't have to go buy anything. Brian, when you're looking for stuff on Etsy, are there any particular keywords or terms that you use for the searches to bring things up?
I just look under, when I was looking for the Arkham Horror card game, just put in Arkham Horror card game, and voila, lots and lots of stuff, accessories, custom made accessories for it.
Okay. I just thinking more broadly on kind of more generic board game or war game in particular sorts of accessories and markers and tokens. I didn't know if there was,
I wouldn't go to Etsy.
Status tokens brings up something different than, board game markers or whatever.
Well, I wouldn't go to Etsy for stuff like that. I mean, I would go to Etsy more for a custom, higher quality thing. If you're just going for little knickknacks and that, I don't know, Mike or Rocky.
You should go to Etsy for things like that, honestly, because you kind of have to know what you're looking for keyword wise. In fact, when we did Origins last year, I ran, was it last year when I did Bayonets? No, what did I run?
Bayonets and Tomahawks was in 2022.
No, Plains Indian War. When I ran Plains Indian War, and you got the Transcontinental Railroad, and I wanted to bling up the game a little bit for the convention. And they use black cubes to mark the progress of the railroad, and they join in the middle. Well, I wanted that last cube to be a golden cube, and I didn't have a golden cube, but I went to Etsy and I searched for, that 2 or 3 millimeter gold cube. And there it was. It looks like a piece of gold. It wasn't very expensive, but I was able to do that. It was really neat. So yeah, Etsy has all kinds of stuff. You do have to kind of know what you're looking for though.
Huh. Okay. It's just a matter of, like you said, knowing what you're looking for. So are there particular terms or searches that you use when you're new?
Not really. And like I said, it's just, you have to kind of know. In my case, like I said, I just looked for just small 3 millimeter, 2 millimeter cubes or game cubes or just something to kind of trigger it. And it'll throw up just a list of things. You can kind of go from there and work your way through it to get to what you're looking for.
Yeah. I've never noodled around on Etsy really for much of anything. So that's why I was kind of
It's a rabbit hole. You got to be careful. And in fact, that's how I found the little counters I'm talking about. I just went in and typed in like counters or game counters. Wasn't thinking about Magic the Gathering. And like Brian said, it just, here's all these Magic the Gathering life counters, they called them. And it was exactly what I was looking for. And there were just page after page after page of these counters you could order. And I found what worked for me, which is just a basic, it wasn't fantasy themed or anything. It's just a basic counter. So it's pretty cool. And the other cool thing about Etsy, I think Brian mentioned this as well, is you can also get customized stuff. So if you want to get somebody a dice tower or a dice tray or even a game mat for their table, you can get those custom made. Again, you need some lead time on that, of course, but they have a lot of custom made, custom brand type stuff that you can get people.
So I'm going to do a shout out here to one of my new favorite sellers out there, and they're out of Poland of all places, but Cube for Me, the number 4 Me. These guys do gaming and war game accessories. I'm looking at their site right now, just in the accessories: animals, buildings, creatures, cubes, cylinders, dice, discs, goods, meeple people, shapes, pawns, rectangulars, sticks, transport, and then a special category for us called wargaming. And some of the neat stuff there, they have like hexagonal chips, wood blocks that you can lay down. So you're not laying that circle down on top of that hex. You're laying the hex on top of the hex. Some little planes. But the one I love, again, they got like the X's in there. But the ones I love these days is they sell these counter sleds. So you can lean back your half-inch counters in them, and you can get a stack of maybe 5 counters into it. And they come in, a dozen or so colors. I'll look right here and see. But great way to bling out your set. And overall, it's not that super expensive. Their shipping from Poland is surprisingly inexpensive, and it comes pretty quick.
Yeah, those counter sleds, I'm looking at them right now. Pretty good price. And I've seen those very expensive at other places.
Very expensive at the places.
Yeah, I knew they did the counter trays. I wasn't aware that they actually had. Maybe they branched out into other stuff like that. That's good to hear.
And I've already gotten, I've ordered and already have some of the counter sleds in hand, and none of mine are dinged or chipped or have paint flaking off of them after 2 months use and stuff like that. So overall, I've been pleased with the quality so far too. I don't feel like I'm being cheated out of it or anything at this point.
So Brant, as part of this holiday gift guide thing here, it's okay for us to buy gifts for ourselves too, right? I can write this stuff down and buy me some gifts.
The question is, how many are you going to buy before the end of the recording?
Oh, it wouldn't be the first time this has happened.
No.
So, Mike, you talking about the magic life counters? I'll end up posting a picture of this with the article with the podcast when it goes live. I'm gonna turn the camera on here briefly for you guys to see. So there you go, very briefly. This little life counter that I'm showing has kind of the cheese wheel in there that spins to give you the different life. It goes 1 to 30 on the front and then picks up at 31 on the back, goes all the way up to 60. This thing is actually the same size. It was made for Magic the Gathering. This came as an insert to an old Inquest magazine, and it's sized the same size as an actual Magic card, so you can slip it into your deck box with all the others. And I've used these for Munchkin. I've used them for D&D stuff. I've used them for all kinds of stuff. Anywhere you just need a life counter that you need to keep track of stuff. And I've got 5 or 6 of these floating around here somewhere. So
yeah, those things are great for tracking. I was playing, I think it was CSA by Ben Madison, where you just the way you calculate your battles there, you've got to add up all these numbers. Those things are great for just, hold this number in place while I go do some other calculation, and it's just there.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is nowadays everybody's going, why don't you just use your phone? You got an app on there. Well, yeah, I got that. But there's something cool about having a special made, specialty tool for the one specific thing you're trying to do. So,
well, and if you're like the role-playing game guys, when you're playing a board game, I don't want phones around the table. Turn those things off. We're playing the game now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put those aside.
Yep. No, totally get it. So I will say, Rocky, you bringing up the issue of the Cube for Me guys, for folks that are sort of curious about it, it's kind of the spiritual successor to Broken Token crossed with GameCrafter a little bit in terms of all the different things that they have. What's cool is they've got customized sets specific to a bunch of the different games by name. So you can order the set for this specific game. And that's pretty handy the way they package those up. You also mentioned, Rocky, made in Poland of all places. There were actually 2 or 3 different companies at Gamma Expo back in the spring that were all based in Poland. There was a dice company. There was another like terrain and modeling accessories company there. There were a couple of different folks there, and they were all based in Poland. TS Wargames is based in Poland. Black Oak Workshop's primary factory, the factory that they contract with to get all their dice made, is in Poland. So there are a bunch of those folks around. So it's a country with a decent game manufacturing base that folks might not realize. I have no idea why. I don't know what if there was like some government program to help incentivize game manufacturing or something, but for some reason, a bunch of these things are all located in Poland.
Yeah, a couple of the last few games that I've gotten off of Kickstarter have all been made in Poland.
Brian, what's next on the list?
Well, give Rocky a chance here.
Well, he had the Cube for Me stuff. We just went over all.
Well, that was off of Mike.
I was just looping my way around. I'm just looping my way through the crowd.
Oh, and actually, I don't think Brant's gone yet either, to be honest.
Yeah, wait.
I'm the MC. I don't have to look. The one thing that I think would be really cool, unfortunately, is going to be mostly obsolete by the time we get around to releasing this episode. And that is, I would highly encourage everybody at least once in your life to go get one of the dice advent calendars from Black Oak Workshop, because they're
dang it, you stole it from me.
Sorry. They're an absolute gimmick. They're one of the cheesiest things you'll see. They're overpriced for the amount of dice you get, and yet they are a ton of fun and really cool and neat and, a blast to sit there and go through. I got one 3 years ago, I think it was. and Craig sent me one, and I sat there counting down to Christmas. I was doing a shot of the dice every day on our Twitter feed. If you go back through the Dragoons Twitter archives, you'll probably find them. I think it was December of 2020 that I had those running, that I was posting them up there. And again, like, could you walk into your local game store and buy 3 complete sets of 7 dice RPG sets for $7 or whatever, $10? Sure. Would you have nearly as much fun opening them as you would through an advent calendar kind of motif? No. Go get one of the advent calendars. They're cool.
And the look on your significant other's face as you joyfully open these things every day is worth the price of admission alone.
Oh, no. I was forced to keep it out in the office. It was,
no, you got to. That's a.
It was not something that was to be near her.
Nope, it's right up there on the shelf next to some of the other scenes, because it's going to be a daily event. Come home from work, open it up. Hey, here's the new dice. We're gonna roll it around on the little. I love the Black Oak ones too, because they fold down, so you have the little scene,
kind of like the Lego advent calendars.
Exactly. They fold down with a nice little scene. So I just know by the end of the 24 days, I'm going to have that pile of dice, that big old pile of dice. It's going to be so satisfying.
Yeah, what you get is, over the 24 days, you get 3 complete 7 dice sets, and you get 3 specialty dice. So.
That pile of Christmas dice that you can't use unless you run a Santa Claus RPG.
You're doing the War on Christmas Village, which is an actual game, by the way. But yeah, the one that I had the year that I got it, the one of the sets was red with a reindeer motif. So on one face, they had the little button nose with the reindeer antlers off of them. But the D8, the 8 sides were labeled for Santa's 8 reindeer. And it's a completely useless die unless you're like skeet shooting as Santa's flying through the neighborhood, and you got to determine which reindeer you hit. Like, other than that, it serves no purpose whatsoever, other than to be a cheesy, cute little, game accessory. But why the hell not? It's those off the wall sorts of fun things. Not everything has to be utilitarian, right?
So I'm at this Black Oak site, and I guess you choose the advent calendar by theme.
Yes,
like they have a Lost Cavern, a Carnival, they have a Christmas Carol.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I think they change the theme every year, don't they?
I think they add a new one every year.
For the past 4 or 5 years, they've done either 2 or 3 new ones for that year. And if they have any remaining ones from previous years, they'll have those for sale also. But I don't think they're reordering the 2021 calendars again for this next year. I think there's one of the Christmas theme ones that they try to keep in stock every year. But other than that, I think it's a different couple of them each year.
Well, right now you can they have them by number, and you can go back all the way to number 4 to get just the dice. But as far as advent calendars, they have 8, 10, 11, 12, and 13, and 9.
Yeah. Okay.
So they did a Kickstarter earlier this year to jumpstart this. That's where I got in on mine to Kickstarter to get it in. It says they were doing the production, so that's been also a neat little deal about it. Throw them some support for the campaign as they get ready for the year.
Yeah, definitely get in on the Kickstarter if you can, because it's a much better deal. Save yourself a couple of bucks. So and tell them we sent you, right, Craig is one of the hardest working but friendliest dudes you will ever run into at a game convention. Mike's met him, he knows. And Craig's an incredibly happy-go-lucky sort of guy who's always a fun dude to hang out and chat games with. So you're supporting a guy who has built this business from the ground up, literally starting in his garage with some basic dice, and then kind of expanding from there to where he's got a pretty solid business doing nothing but game dice full time now. So
yeah, I got to go back and take a look, but I think the Kickstarter campaign was the calendar, but then you also had a choice of a dice bag. And if you look down on their site, there you have a special Holly Sprigg 2023 edition one. That was the new one for this season. So if you are looking, if you got that Wargamer and you can look ahead for them, make it a little seasonal, and so things like that may actually make it smooth it over with the family, because it's Wargamers, it's dice, it's dice bags, but if you sort of theme it a little bit and the cuteness of it, and the dice bag, they can store it later, so you can always go back and remember it later. That's helpful too when you're trying to convince those others in your family that they should be supporting your war game addiction. I mean hobby.
I have a handful of the dice bags from Black Oak, nice 2-layer dice bags, because I've had a couple of them thrown in with some different purchases that I've done from them. The one that I like is one that I actually got from them, I don't know, Origins 2015 or 16 or so. And it's the classic AD&D book cover font. And it says Advanced Dice and Bag on it. And it's, again, cheesy, but still cute and fun. And then I've got another one that has the Stranger Things typography on the front, but it says Random Things instead of Stranger Things. So those are some fun ones. Along the lines of dice bags, if you are in the market for a good, solid, lifetime use type of dice bag, Easy Roller Dice Company makes these very nice, heavy-duty, double layer. They're reversible felt dice bags with a solid round bottom, so it's a cylindrical bag, and if you roll the sides down on these things, it's almost big enough that you could use it as a mini dice tray. As long as you're not rolling 15 dice at once, if you're just rolling 2 or 3 dice, you can easily roll them inside the base of the dice bag. They're heavy duty. They are gorgeous. They are bomb proof. They are very nice. And the felt that they use is a really high quality felt. I bought a dice bag from them at Origins several years ago, and one day, for whatever reason, I happened to have it out on the dining room table, and my wife saw it and instantly appropriated it for one of her camera lenses, which meant that I then had to go order another dice bag to get mine back and give her the new one for the camera lens. So that's how heavy duty these dice bags are. My wife now has 2 of them that she uses for lenses for her DSLR camera. So those are things that I would toss out there as something that you might be looking for your wargaming friend. There's a lot of pretty good dice accessories out there that you can take a look for and find and see. So. Brian, have we made it to number 2 on your list yet?
Well, I have computer and I have board. I have a few suggestions for computer games. I have a few suggestions for board games. Let's start with the computer games here.
I was just saying, go computer. We haven't talked computer in a while.
So one of my couple of my favorites. Okay, for those who like tank combat and are ex-tankers, Gunner Heat PC is a tank simulation, and it's an absolute must. It is the closest that I have since I've been in an M1 Abrams and done gunnery. It is crazy how, I mean, it really brings me back. The only thing you don't have is the smell of the ammonia propellant. You know, it is really good. It's still in early access. It's still being built. But if you just want to, have some quick entertainment, go out to the gunnery range and have at it. It's a lot of fun. As far as actual more strategic, the Decisive Campaigns, Ardennes Offensive, part of the Decisive Campaign series. It is absolutely fantastic. It is probably better than 95% of the Battle of the Bulge games that you can play on tabletop, and it definitely is the best one that you can play on the computer. So I can't recommend that enough. Decisive Campaigns, Ardennes Offensive.
And this is the same Decisive Campaigns engine that was used for a couple of East Front games also, right?
Yes, which is probably the best East Front game as well. What the hell was it called? Hold on, let me see here.
There was a Barbarossa.
Oh, Barbarossa. There you go.
Was it called Barbarossa?
I believe so.
Okay. And yeah, these are very well regarded digital games in that they give you a pretty wide operational scope to deal with without bogging you down in the kinds of minutia that something like War in the East can do to you.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the problems with War in the East.
Yeah, it's more in the spreadsheets.
Exactly. This is very playable, but not so playable that it isn't it has a lot of complexity to it. Don't get me wrong, but it's definitely playable.
It's playable complexity. Yeah, War in the East has always struck me as somebody said, if you made Campaign for North Africa a computer game, it would totally be playable. And somebody said, want to bet? And that's where War in the East came from. So, all right. So you've got the Decisive Campaigns Ardennes, Gunner Heat PC.
Yes, sir.
All right. I've not played Gunner Heat PC. Like you, I have done gunnery. I have been in the tank. I've been in the UCOFT and tank simulators and PGT 2000 and such. I think as cool as the interface might be on the computer, I think without actually having all the switchology that you have sitting in a gunner station or in a TC station, it's just not going to feel the same.
No, it won't. You won't get that feeling, but it's about as close as you're going to get. I mean, it's you got to take into account dumping lead and stuff like that. It knows what it's doing. It's accurate. You're not going to have the switches and stuff. I actually get a kick out of watching YouTubers do gunnery on the game, and because they don't know to drop the lead at separate targets and stuff stuff that we know.
Yes.
And so I get a big kick out of watching them trying to shoot.
Yeah. Well, look, that's the difference between folks that did it for real and folks that did it for fun. So, which is fine. Is if folks are having a good time doing it, man, let them have a good time.
Yeah, the one complaint I have about it right now is, and this is when you go out in the missions that you have, it's not as expansive as it should be. There should be, if it was in reality, which it never happened, but if it was reality, you would have like 50, 60, Russian tanks coming at you. And you would have about 12 other tanks next to you shooting at these 60 Russian tanks. Yes. Right now, it's more of, let's travel down this road and see who pops up. Oh, there's a tank there. There's a couple tanks there. If you get what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, I get it. The question is, will all those other gamers get it? Rocky, what do you got next on the list, or did something that we just mentioned spark an interest for you?
Well, the next thing I have on the list, and I approached my list of what could a wargamer tell others that they want, that those others may want to be able to go out and get. And I was sitting up in my friendly local game store, and I was looking over all the things that I want, and how do you make that list and explain that to folks? And then I was looking at, sometimes the pricing and the different deals and stuff. And I looked across the counter there, and they have gift cards. And, maybe some people will say like that's the worst gift in the world, but in some ways it may be the best gift in the world, because as a war gamer, you know which game you want, which titles you like, which designers, maybe know what's coming down the road and what you're going to wait for, or what you're looking forward to. And you also, many times, you can figure out what's going to be, if you're working with the friendly local game store, what's their sales cycle? Do they have a special deal for, a veteran discount or holiday discounts or something like that? So, I mean, the friendly local game store, the gift card from them, I would not recommend a gift card like an Amazon or something like that. You want to support the hobby, and if they're giving you the card for the local store, you're winning as the war gamer, because you're probably going to get the game you want. And the friendly local game store is going to be a winner, because they're going to get your business, maybe not today, but maybe in a couple of weeks, a couple of months. So the gift cards may sound a little cheesy, but in some ways, I think it makes an excellent holiday gift.
I think it's a great idea. I love it. I mean, You trying to explain to people what we want, it's not necessarily easy, because, my gaming world is like totally separate from like what, my wife knows. If I asked her to name one game that I have, she probably couldn't. So I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah, and I would say, prioritize certainly the local game stores, but don't forget about the online stores too. There's Enterprise Games, like Gamers Army probably sells gift certificates. Brant can tell us whether or not they do. Something like a Noble Knight gift certificate, because if you're looking for an out of print game, that would be a great gift certificate to give to somebody. Give them $25-$50 at Noble Knight. That's also a great idea. So yeah, gift certificates are an awesome idea.
Yep,
and they work for digital too.
And that's a great point there, Mike, because sometimes if you do have distant relatives or something, they may not be able to get to that from a local game store. So yeah, finding that online place that's still specialty enough. I'm all for supporting the hobby as best we can. So that's a great idea. That's a great exception to my rule. I like it. Thanks.
Yeah. If you're looking at folks that deal with mail order stuff, Enterprise Games, nothing but love for those guys. Folks that are longtime listeners know they are the official GMT rep at Origins, and as such provide a lot of support for us in the wargaming area, in the Wargame HQ at Origins. And Don has a massive trove of out of print as well as current games that they either have or can get their hands on in order to support you guys. One of the big differences between Enterprise Games versus Noble Knight has a massive catalog of stuff, but a lot of it is not war games. Don is a war game focused company. Now they have some other things. Don's a war gamer, and that's where Don built the business. So if you're looking for used or rare or out of print stuff, definitely recommend them as one of the first stops on your search. We're always going to stand on the table for Gamers Armory being the local place here for me, but Rocky and Mike have now had a chance to experience the joy that is the coolness of the Gamers Armory as well. They started as a mail order business. So even though they're a brick and mortar store now, they do a significant mail order component to their business as well. And you can find them online. And they do both of those, both Enterprise and Gamers Armory do gift certificates. I'm sure folks will be able to chime in the comments with some of their other local game stores that may do some mail order business as well. Please do. Let's share that info as much as possible. So would love to hear from you on those. Mike, what else would you think of in terms of cool shit you can get Wargamers?
Another idea that people may not immediately think of is something like deck storage boxes and even card holders when you're playing a game. So there's a lot of card-based games now, right? So they actually sell, and we use these when we played, I think it was Gloomhaven, but it's basically a card holder that the player sits in front of them that's like the counter sleds, really, that hides the card from your opponent sitting across from you. So your cards are being held by this card holder, and it frees up your hands. So that's an idea that people may not think of. And then the deck storage boxes are just, another way of, if you got a card heavy game, a really card heavy game like DVG's Warfighter, card storage boxes are great for something like that. You're not going to get it all in the box, but your cards are protected in the deck storage boxes.
Yeah, something like Point Blank V for Victory from Lock and Load is very card heavy.
Yeah.
I imagine Fields of Fire is. You would know.
I've never played Fields of Fire. Although I do own a copy of Fields of Fire too.
I thought you were one of the Fields of Fire dudes on the site.
No, I think that's JD.
Could be. All right, I'm confusing you guys. Sorry.
I'll just say that if you hit up your local baseball card store, and just take along a couple of the cards from the games you got, you will be able to find something there. There's one around the corner where I'm at, and I can just go in there and pop in and find a box that'll fit my card. Or sometimes I know like C3I Magazine sells their boxes that come with the games, but if you want to get your own to do your other magazine boxes, it's all those baseball card stores, sports cards, memorabilia accessory stores have those sorts of things too. And I think that's one of the themes that we're seeing here tonight is there's a lot of items out there that are not necessarily tagged in Etsy or anywhere else as wargaming, but if it can work on a gaming table or work as a storage solution, it's going to work no matter what you call it.
Yeah, it's like those card holders I'm talking about. You would not find those in a war game under a war game title at all.
Those you look like Amazon under literally card holders.
Yeah.
And you have a couple different styles. I mean, I have a couple that are the curved ones.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
That curve around in front of you on the table. So sort of holding your cards to yourself sort of thing. Just sometimes also when you do accessories like that, I found that sometimes when you accessorize your gaming table the right way, it also helps with smoothing things over with the others in the family. Having a good dice tray so stuff isn't clattering all over the table sometimes is enough to help people accept the dice being thrown around. I have a poker table topper. Mine's in the like a world map, but I put that down on the dining room table, and nobody complains about the dice rolling on the table because I'm protecting the table, so therefore I'm doing my part to protect the investment in the table, and so therefore I am allowed to use it occasionally for gaming.
I think that's the one you brought up on the podcast about gaming accessories, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of the company now, but it's out there. One of the poker board game tables.
In terms of places where you find odd and off the wall sorts of accessories or things, non-gamers might find for a gaming buddy. A couple, probably not this past summer of 2023, but summer of 2022, when one of the craft stores, and I don't remember if it was like a Michael's or a Joann or a Hobby Lobby, one of those places I was in there with the wife looking for something, and they were clearing out some seasonal decor, and the theme that year was sort of a camping adventure travel kind of theme. So they had stuff with like these large compass roses that you can hang on the wall, which a good looking compass rose on the wall is a nice piece of decor for just about any sort of wargaming room. But one of the things that I found was they had these little they were open top leather boxes, but they kind of tied up on the side, so you could untie the little knots and fold the whole thing flat. It was probably about 4 by 6 or so, and about 2 to 3 inches high, and I think they were intended as like napkin holders or utensil holders for a picnic table or something. It actually makes a pretty good dice tray. Now, it doesn't have the full dice tower, but it's a pretty good high-sided dice tray, and got it on clearance for like $3.80 or something ridiculous like that. And it's a nice, classy looking addition to a game table, because it's not great leather, it's not rich Corinthian leather, but it's a nice looking solid chestnut brown leather dice tray that you could use. And if you needed to travel with it, you untie the knots on the end where the sides kind of fold up, you can lay the whole thing flat and take it with you. It's interesting little tweaks like that you can find getting dragged into a craft store of some sort, where you can find cool little things that work well being adapted to game use. So definitely recommend some of those if you can and end up finding those. So, Mike, what else you got?
Back to me again, huh? Well, I'll follow up the card thing, but just by saying also card sleeves. Buy people card sleeves. Sleeve your cards, people. I'm going to keep saying that. Get them a box of the Dragon Shield cards that come in 50 or 100 per box. Those are great. What else? Let's see.
I'll jump in here with one.
Go ahead.
Nowadays, with Brant's still sitting here doing the podcast with no audio. I mean, audio only with no video. But I found just the little camera tripods for your iPhones. Simple little thing that makes a difference when you're trying to shoot some pictures and such. Some of them come with a little LED light ring with it, so it helps with the glare if you set it up right and things like that. We always want to show off our games, so hey, give me a little camera tripod thing here. It's another toy. It's not a super expensive toy, but it's another toy that'll help you when you're writing your articles for Brant to be posted on the Armchair Dragoons. Make sure that the photos are of sufficient quality. But it's maybe it's a little gimmicky, but it's and maybe you can even share it with your teenagers who are out trying to be social media influencers. Maybe you don't want to do that, but you get my point.
I do get your point.
to follow up to that, I'm going to throw in another one that's kind of goes along with that, and you can get articulating arms that actually connect to tables. You can also get microphone booms, and you can use those to put lights on. So if you're like me, and I think Brant just did a podcast on graying gamers. If you're like me, that extra light on the table helps tremendously. So, get an articulating arm, put it on your table, and put one of the little mini lights on it, and it lights up the entire table. And to go with that, get a magnifying glass too.
Oh, let's not talk about tweezers. Let's not talk about...
The only thing we'll say about the tweezers is if you're going to buy the tweezers, make sure it's got an angled head and lights on the end of it, right? If you're going to take the plunge on tweezers, go all out. Exactly. You get the ones with the lights on them. You get the ones with the angled tips so that you can pick up counters at the optimum angle. And don't half-ass it. If you're going to get the tweezers, go top of the line and just go full bore there. But... Brian, we're back around to you on the list, man. What do you got?
Let's see here. As far as board war games, I have my eye on two of them. One from GMT and one from Compass. The GMT one, For the People 25th Anniversary Edition. I have For the People, and it's the first game that I played that Mark Herman game that I'm like, oh, this guy gets it. I'm quite the historian of the Civil War, and he just seemed to capture all the nuances of the Civil War in this game, from river control, the game is not that complex, really. I mean, it's a card-driven game, point-to-point movement, but he really captured the feel of the Civil War in this, and this was the game where I became a Mark Herman fan. So the new 25th anniversary edition's coming with a new mounted map board, and at a price of $47 for it, I really don't think you can go wrong. So there's that. What else we got? Oh, from Compass Games. Napoleon's Eagles, or they just came out with Napoleon Eagles 2. Okay, these are card games, but their cards are representing units, and the battle is played out as far as, how would I explain it? You basically have 4 areas, okay? 4 or 5 areas as your front, and you're going to move those unit cards to different areas of the front. It's not like a gin rummy game. There's a good amount of complexity to them, not ridiculous amount of complexity, but the Napoleon Eagles card game, that covers Borodino and the Battle of Leipzig, and the new Napoleon's Eagles covers the Battle of Waterloo and the other battles right before it, I believe. So I would recommend those. And I haven't gotten Napoleon Eagles 2 yet, but I'm looking forward to getting it.
It's just started shipping within the last week or two.
There you go.
So it's pretty darn new.
And they're not solitaire friendly. So, but like I said, they're not all that complex. So they're definitely teachable.
You saying it's not solitaire friendly, Mike's sitting over there thinking, challenge accepted.
Oh, yeah. It's totally solitaire playable. In fact, I think Stupid Joe's card system that GMT puts out has a module for that.
Not for Napoleon's Eagles.
Oh, no, I thought you were still talking about For the People.
Oh, For the People, yes. For the People, I've played solitaire. Yes, that's very solitaire friendly. Napoleon's Eagles, no.
As Brant says, I'm sure that Napoleon's Eagles could be played solitaire.
Is the new version, is For the People, is that the one with the new post-apocalyptic looking cover?
Yes. Now that you said, I knew exactly what you meant as soon as you said it. Yes. It's like Lincoln with a American flag in the background, but it's kind of,
Lincoln with a bloodstained cover in the background.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
I know some people like that cover. I saw on Twitter some people were talking about how great it looked, and I didn't chime in, but I was like, I'm kind of like thinking what you guys are thinking. That's not a great cover in my mind. It really isn't.
Yeah, I can appreciate the attempt at something new and fairly bold that GMT is trying, because there are a bunch of their games that have some fairly blah kinds of covers and almost strike me as like undergrad art projects instead of real professional projects. There, the backs of the boxes look better than the covers in a lot of cases for GMT, but while I can appreciate the attempt at something bold and daring and different with For the People, that is not a cover that I like at all.
Yeah, that's true. I do give him points for doing something new. That is true.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the GMT latest covers aren't necessarily the greatest, to be honest with you.
I'm happy they're doing something different. That particular one I don't really like, and that's me. But
it's subjective.
It's all subjective. It's okay.
But like Plantagenet, their cover for that, the Barracks Emperors. I'm not saying the games are bad by any stretch of the imagination, but the covers I think are quite lacking.
Yeah. Life goes on.
The 11th season of the Armchair Dragoons podcast, mentioned in dispatches, is graciously supported by all of our Patreon supporters who pledged at the top level. A huge thank you to Chet Bell, Hellcat6, Patrick Garrity, Fred Stogg and his walking companion, Mike Quigley, Joseph Knorr, Trep Corey, Stagger Wing, Mark Talk and Kevin Bertram for their support of the Armchair Dragoons, which helps us bring you the best strategy gaming content on the web. You too can sign up as a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/armchairdragoons.
As we start to crossed the hour mark here on our recording, and probably getting close to that once we edit this down a little bit. As we're looking at the gift guide, I do want to turn this around slightly. Does anybody out there have something that's not necessarily a game connected thing that you might want to get for the Wargamer buddy in your life, or Wargame, if you're lucky enough to have a Wargaming family member out there, some Wargamer that is on your Christmas list or your holiday list, that there's something out there that, if you've got a Wargaming buddy and you're not buying them a war game, is there something cool out there that you might want to get them? Is there, some sort of hexagonal shaped whiskey whiskey tumbler? They're like, hey, hexagons are the bestagons. Here's your war game approved hexagonal whiskey tumbler. Anything that you guys can think of along those lines. Mike, what do you think?
It's funny you said hexagonal and whiskey glass. I went to Iceland this year and I brought back they're lava coasters, but they're hex shaped. That's why I bought them. So they're made from the lava that's where the volcano is currently erupting now. So it's kind of sad too, I guess, but that's exactly what it is. But no, one thing I would say that's outside, I guess, the box is, your wargaming friend well enough to know what his favorite battle is, what his favorite game is. Have a print made of that game's cover if it's nice enough. It's not like the new For the People cover. If it's nice enough, get them a print made of that, or maybe a historical print from the battle they love. Frame it and give it to them. That's kind of cool.
That sounds like a good idea. Rocky, what do you think? Is there something out there that you'd be interested in for the wargaming buddy in your life that's not necessarily like a game or a directly game connected object?
So I've always loved Naval Institute Press and their Naval History magazine, and they always have, this is the time of the year, they're always hitting up with the offers for gift subscriptions. So I mean, that's the one that immediately comes to mind, Naval History magazine from the U.S. Naval Institute. But in that same vein, there are other subscriptions, digital subscriptions, something to even like War Game Vault or something like that, that they can go and dig up the products, or a good, even just a gift card for Amazon to go and get some history books. I like Mike's idea better though, the getting the prints that go with it. Some game companies, Academy Games a while back sold jigsaw puzzles based on the covers of some of their games. You can have those done custom also.
That's a cool idea.
That would be something, especially like what Mike was saying, if somebody has a favorite game or a favorite battle, go off and get them a jigsaw puzzle. Then really punish them. That'll take up their gaming table. That'll take up their gaming table for a couple of weeks.
To tag on to your book idea, war movies, or a TV series like Sharp or something that they haven't seen. Get them a digital movie or something they can watch.
What? No Tickets to Napoleon? Oh, come on.
Oh, I wasn't going to bring that up.
We have a list of things you can watch instead. It's on the website.
Exactly. Jim's going to be dialing in a moment, so
Brian, the time that I had set aside to watch that movie, now I'm just going to go watch the old Waterloo movie instead.
You're better off.
Brian, what do you think? A non-war game, something that you might get for a wargaming buddy out there?
Well, Rocky kind of stole my thunder. I was thinking along the lines of which your wargamer friend or whatever, what their favorite time period is that they enjoy as far as wargaming, World War II, Civil War, whatever. Get them a history book, and a good one, based on that period of time. World War I, A World Undone is an excellent book. The American Civil War, Shelby Foote's narrative opus of the Civil War. I can go on and on, but yeah, something of that nature. Get them a good book based on, what they're gaming.
If Jim was here, would he be saying we need to buy hats? Yeah, and sometimes I say that jokingly, but sometimes that is, a little gimmicky gift like that. A good ball cap, or hey, if they are an old tanker, get him those old World War II, tank helmets out there. Something that is, related, but they can then cosplay while they're playing the game. I have to see Brian do that.
They do make sweatshirts and stuff that look like, Revolutionary War uniforms, or a cuirassier's uniform from the Napoleonic Wars, stuff like that.
Yeah, the problem is, I think if I ever put on one of those, if I had the wrong shade, I'd look like an emperor penguin. I just don't have the physique to pull that off.
Just leave it at emperor, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But Brian, mentioning shirts, though, there's another idea that we haven't mentioned yet, and that's merchandise from either your favorite website, Armchair Dragoons. So you get T-shirts, you can get coffee cups, all kinds of good stuff, right?
With the right amount of orders, you can even get hockey jerseys.
Ooh,
there
you go.
Yeah. Let's not bring up the hockey jerseys just yet. We may circle back around to try a reorder of that in the spring. The place we were looking to use is kind of slammed right now. That's why we were trying to get the order in earlier in the fall. Unfortunately, not enough people jumped on the bandwagon, so we may try it again in the spring, see if we can get enough orders together. And if somebody's coming to Origins, we could probably just hand it to them at Origins and save everybody some shipping headaches there. So we'll see if we can't try that again in the spring. If you do go hit our site and go take a look at the merch that we've got, we do have some Dragoons logo stuff, but we've got a couple of other things. We've got the Zones of Control logo that we brought back. We've got the Hex Life thing that we brought back. Kind of looks like the Salt Life motif that you see on some people's trucks and cars and such. We've got the Hex Life one as well. And
people who live in Oklahoma that have those on their trucks, yes.
Yeah.
The Salt Life in Oklahoma.
Yeah, there was a gas station out on the Outer Banks here in North Carolina when one of the hurricanes was coming, and they put a thing up on the marquee that said, if you evacuate, take that Salt Life sticker off your truck, which was good for a laugh. So as we're starting to wind down, we do want to take one quick pass around if there's some particular wargaming gift or idea or project or thought or piece of merch that we hadn't got to yet that you wanted to mention tonight, and we just, you hadn't had a chance to work it into the discussion yet. Rocky, we'll start with you. Is there something you came in wanting to talk about that we just completely blew off?
So as much as wargamers, especially folks like myself who are grog nerds, and as many times we're looking at those GMT and those MMP games, and I want my new advanced squad leader module and stuff. This is the time of season for family, and this may be the right time to think about a family war game. And the series out there that I love right now has to be the Undaunted series. It's something that it's thematic enough that you can pick it up and you can play as a historical gamer. You'll enjoy it, but it's also the type of thing that you can sit down with your family and draw them in and get them to play with you, because it's not the heavy groggy game. It's a good chance to try to connect with the family, and they're a good series of games, and you can use that. Even the latest one, it's not Undaunted, but the latest one from David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin, as the General Orders, a super simple worker placement. Worker placement war game. Say that can't be true, but it's, as a family little fun little game. It's fun, and it just enough. And as you're sitting down with family and you're playing together, that's the win. And then that's really what it all comes down to. So I'll just leave it with that one. Is think about family war games in this time of family season.
Somebody's going to pull your Grognard card for daring to suggest you play a family-friendly war game.
I'll take that hit, not a problem, because I sit down across the table for my boys, and they smiling, and Mama smiling. So that's all it takes. That's what counts.
Yeah. Brian, what do you think? Something you had on the list that we hadn't got to yet?
No, I really didn't have anything left on the list. It's, I'm a little over half a century old now, and I gotta say, my war game buying has started to diminish finally. There's just so much stuff that's coming out now. You just can't even keep up with the amount of war games that are coming out. So, there comes a point in life where you just gotta, sit back and go, oh, when's enough? And use some of that money you would have bought for, that mega game of the like the Third World War that cost $150 and put it towards somebody else, and maybe something that'll bring somebody else joy other than yourself. I know that's not what we want to hear, but that's just what I'm thinking.
And Brant was going to pull my Grognard card?
No, I absolutely am not. Remember, I'm the dude out there trying to get more folks playing games. I'm not pulling anybody. I'm just noting that there's a certain segment of our existing hobby that's going to start, grab the torches and pitchforks and envelop you for a +1 DRM on the CRT. So,
and I'm not trying to say our younger collectors shouldn't keep collecting, but there comes a point in life where enough's enough.
Enough is never enough. Come on.
I knew you were going to say that.
So that's the Prodbot 3000 from the Savage Chickens cartoon. Can you imagine if Tolstoy was still trying to collect all the references we make on the podcast for this specific episode? Dude would go nuts. Mike, what do you got? Anything we didn't get to that you were wanting to try and work into the conversation somewhere?
Not anything really that I left off a list or anything. I will say something just came to mind though, and it goes back to what Rocky said with the gift certificates. I'm going to throw that out there before I give you my final pull my Wargamer card thing. And that is if you're going to a convention with your wargaming friend, like if you're going to be in Columbus, get a gift certificate to a restaurant there or something for them. They're going to be there, and it's kind of hey, here's a gift certificate to Northern Market or whatever it's called, Hot Chicken. I don't know, something that they can use while they're at the convention. Maybe you get a gift certificate to one of the vendors in the vendor hall. But the thing I was going to say that's going to get my card pulled, maybe, I don't know, it's time, the gift of time, and it doesn't cost you a damn thing. And basically what you do is sit down on your computer and type up an IOU that just says, you know what, I'm going to set aside, you pick the 4 hours and you pick the game and we'll play it, and just let your friend choose and run with what they want to do. I'm sure, I know it happens already, but how often does it happen? I don't know. And it's going to apply to your wargaming friends or your family or whoever.
You're sounding cheap, Mike.
Yeah.
Just joking.
Let me just throw out the small refinement to your recommendation. As you're looking for that gift certificate to the restaurant somewhere in Columbus, take a look at Google Maps or Carrie. Take a look at Google Maps and figure out what's nearby, because a gift certificate to the Ocean Club out in Easton doesn't do anybody any good if they're in downtown Columbus at the convention center, and no good way to travel to the east side of town to get out to where the Ocean Club is. Ditto with the refectory, because it's way up on the north side of town. There are no city barbecue locations close to the convention center. There's like 5 of them around Columbus, and none of them are in walking distance of the convention.
Well, you get them an Uber gift certificate too.
Well, you could do that. You could do that. If you wanted to go hit the original city barbecue up on Henderson, you could totally do that, but it's not, it's not walking distance to the convention. So just pay attention to where these places are, because there are some great ones, but they're not necessarily right next door. So keep that one in mind. The advent calendars were the big one that I wanted to bring up, and my backup plan, Rocky sort of already, went into, and that is the gift certificate, but one to the local game store, not the Target, Amazon, whatever. Go help support that local game store. And that gift certificate really does double duty. It brings you in the store, first of all, to get them some business right now, but gives other people a reason to go back again later. And I think that's a pretty important one. So make sure you do that.
Hey, Bram, let me add on.
Yeah.
To what I was saying, play the games that you have. I'm watching so many YouTubers, and it's pretty much unboxing after unboxing. Right? How about playing some of the games that we actually have? Let's not just, keep up with the rat race here of, getting the newest thing.
Cut his mic.
Well, I mean, it's true.
No, it is.
Mike, you actually, I enjoy your channel because you actually play the games, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how many of these channels, it's just one unboxing. It's almost like an addiction, which it is. I'm a recovering addict. Play some of the games that you have.
In my defense, I did get a full AAR of Habsburg Eclipse within a month of having had the unboxing posted, and posted it all to the site. So it's there. You can go check it out. So I got at least one of them out there.
And Rocky, what about you? Are you a collector or are you a player? What's going on with you?
I try to be half and half. I try to be when a game comes in, I try to commit to within a month getting it to the table. I don't always write up an AAR, but I'll sometimes when you see some of my things, what I call first impressions, that's really the first maybe second play of the game. I don't like doing first impressions just out of the box. Read the rules and just no. I want to play it at least once and give a first impression, and then over time I try to go back. I tried to do a game of the week sort of approach and go down and pull something off the shelf, and it gets set up and sits to the side during the week, and I putz around with it, play with it around a bit, and hopefully get a scenario done by the end of the week. So then I can write up something more. But many times I just play it, but I don't get around to writing it because just the time piece of it. But I try to play more than I just unbox.
And with that, guys, it's been a fun season.
Hey, Grant, this is the last episode before the Christmas and holidays, right?
This is the season finale. We're not going to be back on the air with a podcast until January, probably after the ACDC.
Well, then I'd just like to take this opportunity, if you allow me, to just tell all our listeners out there, happy holidays. Be good to yourself, be good to your family. And like Brian says, sometimes you got to put the games aside because this is the time of the year for the family. Or you can be like Mike and just play by yourself the games. But no, seriously, for everyone,
away from the family.
Everyone, best wishes. Best wishes for everyone.
Yeah. Folks, definitely enjoy the holidays and try not to let the in-laws drive you too batty, or go hang out with the in-laws so that the rest of your family doesn't drive you too batty if you got the kids home from school. So as the case may be, it's a great
go play a war game to stay away from the in-laws.
Yeah. No, it's a great sentiment to bring up there and share with the listeners. Appreciate that. So, folks, this has been a fun season to do. It's been a little all over the place. When we come back in the spring, we got a couple of ideas already lined up that we're starting to try and get together so that we don't get our classic first 2 weeks are planned and after that we're just winging it for another 10 weeks. We're actually, putting together a bit of a plan ahead of time. We do have a couple of different special things we're going to do between now and when the podcast comes back. We got a couple of live streams we're going to experiment with here over the course of the next couple of, I guess around 2.5 months or so. We've got another video series we're kicking around that we're playing with a little bit and see how that goes to bring back to you. And who knows, you'll probably hear a couple of these dudes show up on some of those as well. In the meantime, as you're looking forward to next year, go ahead and get your 2024 vacation requests in now to come see us at Origins next summer. It's 19 to 23 June. You got to come to Columbus. Sorry, it's not anywhere cool and sexy and fun, but if it was somewhere cool and fun, they probably couldn't afford to hold a game convention there.
Hey, so, Columbus is underrated.
Dude, I lived there for 4 years. I know this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm very, very aware of this. If you're really, looking for something totally off the wall and wacky to go do, you go out to the northwest side of town and go visit Cornhenge. And yes, it is exactly as crazy as it sounds. So, but yeah, make plans to come see us at Buckeye Game Fest. Go hit Circle DC. If you're going to Compass Expo in the spring, don't breathe on Gary if he's there. He's got a perfect COVID at Compass record going. We'd like to maybe let him break that streak once. But yeah, if you get a chance to come see us at one of the conventions or events, love to have you swing by, say hi, and hang out and play a game with us. Because that's really what this is all about. Mike, Rocky, Brian, thank you guys for making it this evening and for joining us on the podcast this season. Brian, we're going to have to get you back for more than one episode next season.
Oh, would appreciate it.
Yeah, we'd appreciate it because you actually show up prepared for these things. It's sort of a refreshing change, So it's like you and Ozarski are the only two people that show up prepared for stuff. Yeah, Mike and I just turn on the mics and just go.
We just wake up from our naps and we're off running.
Yeah. There's something to be said for both methods.
Yes, there is. Cool. And most importantly, audience, thank you for being here and sticking with us through this season and joining us and hanging out with us. And bring a friend with you next time. And I hope this podcast is fun for you. Leave a comment for us. Let us know what you like, what you didn't like. Pop in our forums. Let us know what you like and what you didn't like. And we'll see you over a game table sometime down the road. Folks, this is a wrap on season 11. We'll see you next year when we get around to season 12. Thanks, everybody.